Text 2: A Lifeboat by Judith Ortiz Cofer. Cofer J.O., 2011. A Lifeboat. Excerpt from Chapter 2 in Lessons from a Writer's Life. Readings and Resources for Teachers and Students, pages 22 to 23. Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Heinemann. Like the poet, the immigrant is primarily a metaphor maker, a translator of experience. Struggling between languages, I learned this skill early. How to answer a question, ¿cómo se dice? By making a comparison, by trying to access the unfamiliar road, by following the familiar camino first. When I heard an unfamiliar word, I went through my mental files for a comparison. In the poem Underwater, I recall one of the shipwreck moments early in my American life. A day when a teacher innocently assumed that all her students knew what a cruise ship was. I did my best to guess what she wanted based on what I had experienced in my Spanish-speaking life. In Puerto Rico, I had seen the fishermen's dinghies in the seaside pueblos that we visited. I thought I hear the teachers say the word cruise, a familiar symbol in the Catholic church I attended and in my home. My parents and grandparents had books on Puerto Rico's Spanish colonial days, so I knew that some ships were adorned with crosses. I used all I had to come up with my cruise ship. My efforts were met with disdain by my fellow students, and the teacher's attempt to gain sympathy for me by reminding the class that she doesn't understand only made me feel more alienated. These are the moments that are seared into the memory of a child struggling to master a new language. When you fail to know what everyone is supposed to know, and therefore to be like everyone else. But something I understand now is that my story could have been interesting to the class if the assignment had been a bit more open. If we had been asked to draw our favorite boat, or one that we had seen, it could have been a time to share knowledge, an occasion for the others to see what I saw, rather than a setback in confidence for the student who doesn't understand. Recently, I witnessed the empowering effects of giving a story to the students rather than simply dictating it. In a middle school classroom I visited in Atlanta, there was one Latino student, Alejandro, the silent one in the back of the room. His class had read some of the stories in my book, An Island Like You, Stories of the Barrio, and their teacher had assigned them to write and deliver a 3-minute monologue based on their favorite character. It was exciting for me to hear how individual students transformed my characters into versions of themselves by giving them new voices, new mannerisms, and new ways of explaining their actions. The teacher had warned me that Alejandro might not participate. He was, she said, aggressively silent, refusing to answer questions in class, and she feared that he was destined to drop out of school to follow his migrant worker parents as soon as he could. Alejandro did wait at the end of the presentations. He then walked to the podium and, standing very straight, delivered a monologue that left everyone stunned by its power. It was based on a character I created who is in rebellion and close to losing everything, including his freedom. Everyone thinks that he's a gangster because he's just plain bad. But in reality, he is grieving for the mother he recently lost and is unable to help his father, who has also been defeated by emotional pain. In the story, he finds love and he also learns a lot about giving. Alejandro read his monologue in thick Spanish accent, which was exactly right for the character. He read it dramatically and with emotion. His resolve to make each word he said count brought tears to his teachers and my eyes. I observed his fellow students looking at Alejandro with a mixture of wonder, curiosity, and maybe, I hoped, a growing sense of respect. Later, I saw that several girls came up to him at the reception we had at the end of my visit, and I saw that Alejandro was not being aggressively silent with them. I do not know Alejandro's personal story, but I did hear from his teacher that she used special readings of materials that she thought would draw him out in her class. And he had become the Latino expert, fielding questions about concepts and words that his fellow students would have had to look up. She had leveled the field, allowing him some time as the one who knows the answers rather than the one who does not understand.